Hey everybody, so here we are with month 7 already. It's hard to believe this much has gone past us in this year with all the craziness going on. If you're a Katie customer, this is coming to you after our crazy weather last week, and hopefully you all survived it and didn't have too much damage and are warm again. So this month's block is really quite pretty. We're going to introduce the technique called stitch and flip, which is how you get all these little corners on, and it just makes a really sweet little block. I'd like to say it's easy, but if it's the first time you've done stitch and flip, those corners are a little small, and then there's some match points that we're not used to having to match, so you just need to take your time with this one and make sure you're sewing accurately and checking your measurements as you go. So the first thing I'm going to do in this video is the cutting. And it's pretty straightforward. You have 4 fabrics this month. The first one is print number 1, and actually let me show you the 4 fabrics first. So this is the Edita, the 4 fabrics for that one. And this is Amanda, which are really pretty. And then this one is Alice and Glass, which again are very pretty. So you have, in each one you have 4 fabrics. The first one is what we call light one. I'm thinking background one, but it's called light one. And it's going to be a nice big piece like this. And then the second fabric is your print one, which is going to be your main print, which is this one. And then your third one will be print 2, which is the long narrow one. And then the last one, which is print 3, is just a little square. Okay, so you know you have all 4 fabrics. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cut. In your instructions, you do have, fold this back, a cutting diagram that came with it, so you know what way to put the fabrics down and how to cut them. But let's just go through it real quickly for those of you who have told me so much that you like when I show how to do the cutting. Okay, so we are on light 1. First thing I'm going to do, as always, is clean cut my edge. Just take a little bit off to give me a clean edge. And then I'm going to start measuring over. In the first measurements, I need to cut 2 3.5 inch strips. So there's the first one, and all I'm worrying about is that the long line is on the edge, because I will square up the other direction when I subcut them. So there's my 3.5s. Okay, now the next thing you need to cut from the big piece are we need 3 1.5 inch strips. So again, we're just going to start with, and make sure your line is right on the cut edge. So I have 1.5, and I have, line it up, 1.5, and I have 1.5. All right, and I have this much left over that I can probably put in the circular file. I'm going to set my 1.5 strips aside. Now this is where we're going to square things up. I like to stack. You don't have to stack, you can do them one at a time. But we need to cut 2 3.5 inch squares out of each of these. Okay, so this is where, again, I am going to put my long line on the bottom, slide it over, and I can also be sure that my 3.5 inch mark is up here, and when I have that nice and straight, I'm going to clean cut one edge. Then I'm going to flip this over, and now at this point you can continue to use this. I also brought in with me, though it doesn't, oh here it is, a square ruler, where if you wanted you could also do the 3.5 inch square on here and make sure everything's lined up, and you could cut 3.5, and then we can cut 3.5 this way. Now if you started with the square ruler, you could actually do multiple sides at the same time and be square. So there are our 4 3.5 inch squares. Now this we have to cut into 1.5 inch squares. So I took 2 strips first, And I'm going to, again, clean cut that edge. And now I'm going to find my 1.5 inch square, which is right here. And I'm just going to start cutting 1.5 inch squares. And I'm always lining 2 lines up to make sure I'm square. And you should be able to get 4 cuts out of it. Oh, it looks like we might even squeak a 5th one. Look at that. You don't really need 5, I don't believe. I think 4 is all you need, but I was able to get a 5th out of there. And then out of the last strip, I'm gonna clean cut this edge right here. And I need a 1.5 by 3.5 inch piece, okay? So I'm gonna find my 3.5 inch line right here, and I'm gonna cut that. And then I need 2 more 3.5 inch square, 1.5 inch, sorry. There's a 1.5 and there's a 1.5. Now because I had that little extra, I probably didn't need these 2, but I just stacked them up there, and that is cut for you, okay? So that was pretty straightforward. The next thing we need to cut is our main print, or print number 1. And what's nice about this is we just have to cut 4 3.5 inch squares. So we just did that. So I'm gonna just clean cut one side. And remember, at this point, I'm not trying to line anything up. I'm just getting a clean edge. Now I'm gonna line the 3.5 inch line up on that edge and give myself 1. And then I'm gonna do that again. 3.5, that gives me 2. There's your extra inch of fabric. I'm gonna stack these, make sure they're nice and even. And I'm going to now I'm gonna make sure the 3.5, 2 lines are lined up, and I'm gonna cut a clean cut edge. And this, again, you can switch to your square ruler at this point, or you can use this ruler. I'm gonna just, since I'm working with it, gonna keep working with it. So I've got 3.5, 3.5, everything's looking good. And I do the same thing with this one. Okay, make sure. And there's my extra fabric. So now I have 4 of those. So we have 4 of the light one, 4 of the print one. They're all 3.5 inch squares. Now I'm going to get my print 2, and this just needs to all be cut into 1.5 inch squares. Now if you have a shape cutter that has the little grooves in it, it makes quick work of this. I didn't bring one over with me for the cutting video, but I will tell you that that can save you an immense amount of time.
Stripology?
Stripology, thank you. Did I say stripology ruler? Okay, I've got this one lined up. Now I'm going to stack these. I'm going to clean cut one end. And I'm just going to start cutting 1.5 inch squares. And again, you can use your square ruler, or you can use this one, as long as you're good at keeping things square. I'm always making sure this and this are square. Okay. And move that up. Got it. And I need 5 of these. Got 4. I need 1 more. And actually, I only need 1 more out of 1 strip, but we'll just cut them both. There we go. So there are all my little 1.5 inch squares in both my P1 and my L1 and P2. So we have our lights, our prints, and last but not least, we need print number 4, and we need 2 1.5 by 3.5. So again, I'm just going to clean cut the edge I'm going to come over and line my ruler up at 1.5, and I'm going to go this way at 1.5, and then I'm going to cut these down to 3.5. And that's going to give us all of our pieces. 3.5 is right there. Get myself a good line. So now I know I've got this line, and this line all lining up, so I can cut this and know that they are straight. So that is the cutting this month. You can see that there's lots of left little bits that we leave to cut off. We try to always give you extra so you have lots of room to cut. This fabric was pre-shrunk, so that is how we're going to cut this month, and then the next video will show you how we're going to put it all together.